Okay, before the break, we were talking something about vectors as well as Git. And then reminder, Wednesday is gonna be a little bit shorter. We'll just be here up until the break time on Wednesday, which actually will be shorter than today because, um, yeah, after class on Wednesday, after, uh, load up my suitcase into the school's vehicle and then meet the, other people riding with me in the carpool, I think at like 2:25. So, I was thinking that end at 2:15, that way we still have a little bit of time to cover some stuff, and then I'll just run and get the suitcase. And the ukulele, it's a really fun event. Because IU-Tech employees from all across the state are gonna play music together. It's been interesting coordinating, trying to get practice and stuff with that, but I'm hoping jam session, jam band thing going. But in front of everybody, in front of the 700 or so people that are gonna be at the conference. So hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so two other things I had on this list. Tile maps, then mentioned grid maps, but it's an easy expansion in Godot. Tile maps are for 2D, grid maps are the 3D one. Several people that had already taken the quiz had missed that true false question. So for those who haven't taken the quiz yet, you see that question, remember the tile maps are just 2D and grid maps are 3D. And for the ones that missed that question, I'll go back in there and put the point on because we didn't talk about that before you took the quiz. So I'll put the point back on for that question for I think it's saw it like 3 times, maybe 4. I need to double check the reading and see why it was so consistent. Make sure the reading doesn't seem to imply something different somewhere. Does anybody have any trouble with tile maps on your project? Y'all been working on the project? That's probably a good thing we can look at first here. So I'm share screen. So you might remember last Wednesday, I guess. We did take a moment and opened up Inkscape and tried to draw a sprite sheet or go over some tips on, not sprite sheet. That's what we need to do today and Wednesday. Drew up a tile set where we have all these tiles. Let's see, with Inkscape. So the big tip I had was do lots of copy and paste and undo and redo, or undo. You're undoing it, you probably don't want to redo it, but lots of copy and paste and shuffling around so you can line things up nicely. Then set the sizes. We drew these 64 by 64 pixel tiles that kind of wrap around. Guess we can make another copy of one. Oops. So I'm just gonna grab, oops. I'm double highlighting. I'm gonna grab these right here. To do multiple selections in Inkscape here, you hold Shift. So maybe those two right there. Then I'll copy that and paste it. And remember, we want to type our numbers in. So it lines up. Come 128 over, I think, yeah. And then 128 down. That would be important when we go to read this. And this one, do like an angle thing. So I'll make it so it looks like that doesn't come down quite as tall. And if click on it, you get the move tool, and if you click twice, you get a rotate tool here. So I'll just rotate that over at some angle. That way we have one of our platforms looks like it's coming down some. And then remember, right below the arrow tool, here's where we get back to all the points that control that. So scalable vector graphics, some more with vectors. What it really is, if we look at the SVG file, if we look at the SVG file, oh, these are all rectangles. Okay, yeah, here we go. So there's a pad. You see a bunch of coordinate pairs. So it's all, those are all vectors. So the arrow that points from the origin to that point. And then another one. And another one. And all of those vectors are kind of connected. And we're thinking about the arrow that points that far over and that far up or down. And we can move that anywhere, resize it. So when we go in here, we can manually adjust each one of these points to whatever we need it to be. Drag them around and get an entirely different shape for this one that so we have a sloping down tile that we can then match up other tiles on there. I'll go back to the arrow tool. I probably won't use that one when we get to our example, but then we copy and paste a lot, right? I'll hit copy and paste and then hit the flip horizontal button so that we have one going the other way and build up all the images that we'll need for this. So this one would be an exposition of 0. And yeah, we can see where I drug it to. That's a big floating point number. It'd be kind of hard to find that number in our code if we don't know for certain what it is. So it should be 128 down, and it's 64 pixels by 64 pixels. We have that grid. Copy and paste, take your time, undo stuff, and set it up so that the tiles line up next to each other to eventually form something that bigger. I guess I could take both of those instead of 128 down. Let me move those to 192, and then take all 3 of these, copy that, paste it at 0, 128 down. The size looks correct there, and then flip that vertically so we have something a little more fully surrounding everything. And I can see that this needs edited. So come back in the vertex editor and drag this point straight over. It lines up. Same thing on this one. I guess I could have edited the one on the bottom, but it gives us tiles that line up, right? We can do like a corner piece and then 5 or 6 of this middle piece, and then the other corner, and build up an interesting looking platform. Or like a corner piece, 5 or 6 of this middle piece, the one that slopes down, a couple more of the middle piece, and then the last one to set up a platform. And we just have the segments of what we want in our graphics for the world to be, the map that we're working on. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Then we go to File and Document Properties, and we can set it to cover the whole thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 64 is going to be 256 pixels tall. Makes it easier. In the early days of like Nintendo, the original Nintendo Entertainment System, it was very important that all of our sizes be computer numbers. 32, 16, 64. That's not necessary anymore, but it is still convenient to work with because those numbers are easy. It's a short list of numbers that are easy to memorize and work with. All right. I think I'll go back in and use one of those projects we had earlier and just put a tile set in that instead of creating a new one. Was it the first or second project that we actually put on? Yeah, it was the first one, right? Hopefully this one's linked to GitHub. I think we did that first and then skipped it on the second time. Which this was the one that everything was internal. So to make a tile map, we search for it. There's the tile map and tile map layer. Notice the tile map has this little thing over here. It's deprecated. They improved it so that we can have layers on our tile map, just like the layers in our graphic software we saw the other day, and which is a major improvement. So you want to use tile map layer because that's going to be removed at some point. If you select it, the message shows up even bigger. They get the whole thing. They say when it's going to be removed. Okay, yeah, it's just they haven't got around to fully taking it out of everything yet, but messages that say don't use it. If you actually like click on it and pull one up, there'll be other messages saying don't use this anymore. So most of our work here happens down at the bottom, but we'll need the viewport area as well. So notice we have a tile map. The tile map or tile map layer node has no tile set resource. So again, GitHub has really nice messages. They tell us exactly what to do. If you haven't had me in class before, I do like to throw error messages to show you how to fix those instead of just like trying to avoid them the whole time. And at least one lecture every class, I try to do unprepared because it probably makes it often where it makes it look too easy when I practice ahead of time. Sometimes I'll do the things 2 or 3 times before class, and then that's going to make it look super easy. But when I code, it's more like what you all are used to. The bugs are constantly showing up, the logic gets off, and you have to go back and forth. I just don't want to waste class time, but I do like to do that at least once a semester, so you can see that even after decades of programming, it's still that way. So we need a tile set. We have that, so let's import that in our resources. We can just drag it over. Godot can work with both of them, the SVGs or the pings. I'll go ahead and we didn't export the new ping. Let me remove that ping. Delete that. And back over in our editor, once we get our sizes set and everything, then we want to export it. Looks like it's going to export in the same spot. And replace the existing file. And then in Godot, make sure we bring in the latest one. Sizes are set on pings, and in that software we're using Inkscape, there are filters that'll make things look really nice. And the filters, we see them in Inkscape, but they only apply to the pings when we exported a ping file. So if you export an SVG, you still have the unfiltered version. But you also have scalable graphics, so they're going to be crystal clear on any screen you have. So you can decide which one to do. So set our tile map is one of the things I can't zoom in on. Over in the inspector panel, we select tile map. Something we see over and over again in Godot is there's often something near the top that says empty. We need to put our tile set in there, and we can just drag and drop it. Yeah, That's one I can't zoom in on, so the text is really small. But I'll use the pings. So we grab the pings and bring them over and just drop it where it says empty. Oh, whoops. So first off, we have to create a new tile set. And then we click on that. We get some options here. Sorry, that was like two versions of Godot ago. That was like 3.3 or something. So we would just do that and it would create it. So here we need to add the source tiles. Yeah, you can just drag over there to get those set up. And you can have more than one source. They don't all have to be in the same file. It's very convenient when they are, especially if you're going to like sell it on the asset store or something, or give it away and put a donate button on there, because a lot of people are very frustrated at the AAA game industry right now. So donate buttons for indie game development is getting large amounts of money. People are happy. People want to support indie game developers right now. The Alice's texture was modified. Automatically create the tiles. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, but we need to edit them, because we can see on the grid there that it does not match up the size tile. I did 64 by 64 tile, and it's trying to do a 16 by 16. So there's some things that we edit here, down in the bottom middle, and some things over in the inspector panel. If you're not seeing all those options, once you have a new tile set and you click on that, it's going to expand and give more options. Come in here and type in the number it needs to be. 64 by 64 tiles. They do not have to be square. Why is that not? 64 by 64. Enter. Oh, I have to set it over here as well. There we go. So have to make sure you're setting every number in both places. And then basically what we do is we paint these surfaces on. So we can kind of see where the camera's looking at, so we can grab a few of these. Maybe this one. Paint. So here's in the tile set, we set all our properties. So if this is going to be a platform, we probably want some physics collisions. So do that over in physics layers, to add an element. And we'll talk about collision layers soon. Notice when I hover over it though, it has it labeled as a bit. So it's very, 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 very efficient when we set layers this way. Each layer is represented by 1 bit, so we can pass a whole lot of those through RAM and processing on a modern computer with no problem. I'll just leave it on layer 1, so we haven't talked about those yet. Select the tile, physics layer 0. Oh, sorry, I did that backwards. Select the physics layer we just set up, and then select the tile, and you can see our collision area on it. And we can adjust those. So then on the next one, and the next one, then those ramp ones, I'll go down to one of those ramp ones. And just adjust it so that it's only over that tile part. So when our character hits that, they kind of walk down. And that's under the paint tab. When you click on one, you can edit all sorts of things. We can edit them. We can animate things in there. I believe that is touched on in the reading assignment. It's at least linked to in the reading assignment. More than we need to do in this week, because that would take up lots and lots of time. But kind of give us a start. this tile as well. Oh, and we'll have this tile. You change. Notice how when I move that corner, all of them are getting that angle thing. So that goes with that physics layer. When physics layer 0 to all be nice squares. Now come over here and add another physics layer. And we choose the second one. And for this, have the angle one. So if you need different shapes, make sure you put them on different physics layers. You only get one shape per layer, basically. Bring back to physics layer 0. And hit the red button to remove it. Otherwise, it's not removed. And you can get down there get very, very detailed about it. I don't have to delete that whole thing, do I? I'm having trouble remembering how to remove that. Nothing I click on seems to work. Might have to Google that, right? That's what you're going to do with your homework. How to remove collision shape from a tile and get up. Tried all sorts of buttons, none of them seem to help. Tiles, collision polygon, and the tile set editor, and either delete the points or reset the shape to its default state. So if I go to this one, that's the one that needs deleted. I select that point and hit delete. But yeah, the big thing I wanted you to see is that this is not very intuitive. So click on it. But yeah, you know, it is not very intuitive for some reason to set up, especially deleting things. And I don't think the documentation we looked at was much more help for that either. But once you get your collision shapes on there and everything, and the tile set all set up, ornamented tile. Okay. I apparently accidentally deleted something I didn't need to. So I'm going to add the tile map layer node. Load in the tile set. Oh. Have to make a new one. Apparently didn't save that. We can just drag that in. I'm going to click yes, might as well set it up, put the wrong numbers. But we wanted it to be 64 by 64.
How do you open up the tile sets window?
when you click on it, here, I'll do it again. Let me clear this. So with our tile map, we could click empty and do new tile set. And then it should show up at the bottom. Whenever there's something there.
Goes to the tab at the bottom.
This time I'm gonna type 64 by 64 in the inspector panel, then drag it over. And then don't have to type it in twice. It had both of those. Then physics layers, we wanna add a layer so we can get physics. And then that thing we just saw, one shape per editor. So we go to physics layer 0. We can click on all the square ones. And then add another physics layer. I'll just keep the actual collision layer and mask on one. If we go to that one, we can get like maybe one of our angle shapes here. See how quick that was to just make a new one whenever things started getting a little iffy. Sometimes with tile sets, and this is consistent in a lot of our game engines, if things start to get off, it's easier just to make a new one. Just to start from scratch, because you're going to spend more time editing it back to working than doing that. But once you get it set up, then we switch over to our tile map. Then you can see we're looking at our tile set. We can have multiple tile sets, and we have a like selection tool. You see there's a pencil, the lines, boxes, a paint can. So once we have that, then we just come up here and start painting the tiles. So if we put like a corner there, and I'm on the pencil tool, so I'll just drag my mouse over, draw a couple. I've got this angled one. Start angling down. So it just kind of wraps off at the end. If you click the eraser, the pencil tool becomes an eraser. So you can toggle on and off eraser. I think right clicking will also just remove a single one. But then we can set up a couple platforms. So one of those, these all line up to the corner. Expand that down. That's not gonna line up, but maybe we have a path that goes somewhere else. Lots and lots of tiles. Put your, we basically just draw it, fill it in. Oh, whoops. Turn off the eraser and drag down there some. Go in one of the corners. I'll come over. Corner right there. So need more of those. Then fill that in, and if you have like a tile, I'm just gonna choose a random one. Once you have a shape, you can fill in the whole area once it's enclosed. And yeah, then it's just kind of painting it on there, drawing it around like a paintbrush. I'm gonna add another layer. Add another tile map layer. Once again, I'll create a new tile set. Set it to 64 by 64 first, otherwise we have to type it in when we drag it in. Here's those other tiles we made last week. Remember the tip for that was do your base color and then go around the edges and make little marks on the edge. So, and then start copying, make a bunch of copies of that so that you can do each copy different, but those edge marks that you made are going to line up. So you just flip it horizontally and then vertically as needed to get all the different sizes you need. Drag this in, So 2 tiles here. All physics, but yeah, just so that we can do it kind of quicker. Oh, I'm on animation. Go to paint. These are both squares, so add one physics layer. Going to edit that, and it looks like it just kind of surrounded it, so we'll set that. And tile set up, come over to tile map, and then we can start drawing things, right? So, fill out a Mario game, do so. Select one of the tiles and just draw a few blocks of that, a few blocks of the other one. Those early Mario style platforms, drawing things like that, and try to match the original tile map, but you're going to use it to tell your own story. So tile map's fairly straightforward. Once you get in there, it takes a little clicking around at first, but you notice that it gets quicker and quicker very quickly. And 3D, we have a grid maps. I guess I can send this link out after class, but if you just Google, there's using grid maps, and then there'll be things about the objects and stuff code that's linked here, just like you're reading assignments. But the tutorials in the Godot documentation are all say using, so that's probably the ones you want to click on. This one comes with a nice big example, but see, we have different shapes. We just have a 3-dimensional shape to lay out, so we have to worry about that extra dimension. But a lot of our properties are going to be similar to the 2D stuff. It just we have one more dimension to work with. You can read through that if you would like. I didn't link to it because it's not in the assignment. I think I'll go in Ivy Learn and put that in the supplemental. If you go to the learning materials page, there's like extra stuff down at the bottom that's not necessarily required. I'll put a link to the grid maps in there if anybody wants to read that, because it does make some things convenient, especially if you're going to be in something that has a lot of squares in 3D game, like dungeons and stuff, and set up set up some rooms and walls, and then just use those like a tile map. Any questions about tile maps? Okay. Next thing, I think we'll do on Wednesday, and that's kind of walking through a spreadsheet, putting together the spreadsheet. So maybe a good start, if you start drawing just the basic idea of a character, for putting together the spreadsheet, there's going to be a whole lot of copy and paste. So for that assignment this week, maybe make your base character, and then on Wednesday we'll look at how turning that character into a spreadsheet. There's also a video on Ivy Learn, I believe. I had that loaded in before our course started, so the one for the Ivy Online students when that shell goes live in the fall. That video is there, but we'll do a little bit more here in class. And yeah, for now, if you go ahead and have your base character drawn, just the still image in Inkscape, or make sure if you're using something else, make sure you're using some software where we can manually type in the values instead of having to drag everything around like Microsoft Paint. We'll be able to type in the values. We have different layers to work on, and just about everything has layers. Even Microsoft Paint has layers. So Inkscape is a good one because we have the SVG graphics, so we can go back in there and edit point by point. After we draw the shape, we can go in and edit every individual point on that shape. It's one reason I like that. Adobe Illustrator, if somebody already has the Adobe licensing, that's just going to be on Illustrator, which is pretty nice software. But yeah, make sure you have those things and have the ability to get back to every shape that you drew to draw to build up that character. And then we'll put in that in a spreadsheet that's mostly copy and paste stuff and just little edits for each frame. We'll do that Wednesday. Is that everything on my list from today? Yep. Oh, yeah. Real quick before we wrap up then, this was the one, that we were using. I think this was the one on our terminal. The Git plugin's not here, so, this has to be the one that was in terminal. So all those changes are made, make sure everything's saved. This one isn't saved yet. That is the tile map layer. And then that tile map, would drag into your world, or this scene, the terminology in, we use nodes to build up a scene. And then that scene can be used as a node in another scene. So once you get the tile map together, you bring that into your world where you probably have like a blue background or something, and then the tile map just sits in front of it. We'll see that over and over again. But with all those changes made, we need to put them on GitHub. Well, file explorer is what I want. I got over closing things too quickly. I'll go in here. However you want to get to the terminal, there's multiple ways to do it. This is just the way I like to do it, because usually I can use keyboard shortcuts to get all the way that far. So we made some changes. So we'll have Git add those changes, commit to those changes, tile set, and tile. Check the log to see which branch I'm on. Yeah, did that on the main branch. So now can push origin that main branch. And that's up on GitHub now. So it's really just those commands over and over again. We really don't even need the log. Add all the changes, commit to those changes, and push those changes up to GitHub. Those 3 lines are really the only 3 we need. Any questions about stuff from today? I'll give it a couple seconds so people have time to type in the chat or unmute. Okay, I don't hear any questions. If you have any, reach out. I'm always happy to help. And I don't think I have anything else on my schedule, so I'm just gonna be sitting, like any meetings on my schedule. So I'm just gonna be sitting in the office till 7 o'clock. And I'll hop on a Zoom call really easily then. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see y'all on Wednesday, and we will kind of work through some tips and stuff about spreadsheet creation that I found over the years. That way you're ready to get that assignment turned in this week. Everybody have a great day. Oh, yeah, and there's 45 minutes left in our scheduled time, so you should have your calendar blocked off to work on game development, right? So I'm calling this lab time. Please use our time productively. Though, when I was outside right before class, this is the first nice day of spring. Right? Spring officially started on Friday, which was cold, and then it was rainy and windy all weekend. But today's really, really nice. So relaxation is productive, more productive than you would be if you tried to push through when you need the rest. So use our time productively. I'll leave it up to you to decide what productive is, and I'll see everybody on Wednesday.